Good afternoon, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you into this room, into this session. Today feels extremely different to me. I've addressed multiple people, done multiple presentations, technology, non-technology, but today is different because I'm doing this to a room full of women. I'm really glad I'm here. I'm really glad to be a part of all of you here today. I know I'm standing between you and lunch, and I'm really hoping to make it worthwhile for you. And let me also start off by saying that after having heard all the many conversations since morning, I realized I'm not going to be saying anything which is very different from what people have already said today. But what I am going to try and do is contextualize it into the way I have grown and I have seen it, experience. I'm going to make it real for you from that perspective. So let's dive deep in. So today's session is about how can you navigate your way to your leadership roles in data and AI. Again, I'm going to make a lot of reference to data and AI because that's the field I have been associated with over the large part of my career here. To start off, a little bit about myself. I strongly believe that a lot of who you are today is based on the early experiences that you get. And I take a lot of inspiration and a lot of knowledge from the time I sort of studied. So to begin with, my technology career actually started by chance. The idea of going to a place very, very far away from home, which is Chennai for me, to a place far north like Pilani was what intrigued me and what took me into technology. So technology was just by choice. The intentional choice was to go far away from home. So looking back, that experience was indeed very, very important for me at that early stage of my life because it taught me to think, live, and face challenges very, very independently, in addition to exposing me to a lot of bright minds from across various parts of India who had the aspiration and the motivation in them to make it big. Again, made a huge difference for me if I think about it right now. The second life-changing experience, I would say, is I had an opportunity to go and work in INSEAD Business School in France right after my graduation in BITS Pilani. Again, this was through a collaboration that my college had with the business school, but being exposed to people from different nationalities at that young age was a door opener for me, especially in terms of broadening my thinking. Secondly, that also seeded my interest in management as a management education. Not long after that, I took to Indian School of Business. I was very happy to see Indian School of Business setting up a stall here talking about how women can make careers. I did not have the benefit of this that day, but thanks to my INSEAD experience, I was able to relate to how a management education early on could help me. And I'm happy that I latched on and I went in there, which gave me a perspective to think beyond technology, think more holistic business. So again, right after that, I was able to dive into data and analytics thanks to my degree in technology, degree in management. Data analytics seemed like a very logical choice. Again, not very intentional, it happened by default, but I am a person of data. I think before I even realized and went into this field, I realized that I do a lot of analysis of my own data and I try to act on them. So data and analytics indeed was a great field, was a great fit for me at that point in time. So within data and analytics, I did multiple things over the years, worked with many large companies, Capgemini, Deloitte, Tech Mahindra, and now Infosys. So each experience has been extremely fulfilling and rewarding for me, primarily because I took the opportunity to really experiment with multiple different roles and technologies. I'll talk more about it as we sort of go along, but today I'm happy to be sort of known for certain skills within data and analytics. And again, I'm continuously looking to sort of expand my horizon to be able to do more. On the personal front, I'm married to Mohan, a tech professional, a social activist, and a big source of support for me. I have two boys, 10 and 15, both happily enjoy my time off when I'm away on work travels. So with this introduction, let's talk a little bit about why are we even here, right? We don't have a conference on men in tech. but we have a conference in Women in Tech. A lot of people before me talked about the need, but let me talk a little bit about a story from my own experience. 10 years ago, when I was working in one of my previous organizations, I was delivering a project for a very large tractor manufacturing firm within India. So I developed, most of the work that I did was in their corporate office. So we developed the solution, we had some dashboards that we had built, which we had to give it away to the plant. So when the project was almost about to complete, I was invited by the management of the client to go and make a presentation in the plant to the users. So I was super excited because I had not seen a manufacturing plant before, leave alone any plants other than what I see in gardens and roads. So I go there, they treat me really well, I had a great experience, I make the presentation, people were very receptive, it all went well. But suddenly, what struck me as a little bit weird was as I walked around the plant, I realized I could hardly spot any women. And the only women I could spot in the whole plant were really cleaning staff. And a little bit later, when I wanted to take a bio break, and I asked my client colleagues to show me the toilet, they all looked a little confused and started frantically calling their colleagues to find out where that one women's executive toilet that they built for compliance purpose is really located. Harsh reality. But thankfully, the tech sector is a bit more encouraging for women, which is why a lot of us are here, but definitely not the best sector for women still. Let's look at a little bit more statistics, right? So this is from a World Economic Forum report, right? The women representation in tech force is less than 25%. So which means for every 74 women that are there in the tech industry, we are only 26, and in the leadership roles, that drops even further. Again, a stark contrast in a world where women make up about 50% of the population. A gentleman said half of everything should be attributed to women, whereas look at where we are here today. And at this rate, the same report states that it would take us another whopping 135 years to really bridge the gender gap, assuming we go at the same pace. But there could be other factors at play. There could be positive factors, there could be negative factors which could impact, but the reality is definitely not great. And I did tell you a lot about my passion for data, AI, and so on. So I also looked up for more statistics around what it means from a data perspective, right? Again, looking at, this is from a Deloitte survey, so where they said, to people, when they looked at whether women is really needed in the data and AI industry, the answer was a resounding yes. As you can see those green numbers, right? 71, 63, 67. So everybody wants women. More than 50% of people, again, remember, these respondents were both men and women. So the need exists, the want exists, but just that people are not really coming forward, and we've not really taken enough efforts, one, on our own, as well as organizations have not really taken the effort so far to really bring women together. Again, when we specifically talk about data and AI as a space, right? So diversity of perspectives is critical. It's not only that we want women to really come up, it's also important even for us to really make a difference with data and make sure the data counts for business results. It's important that this diversity of perspective is taken into consideration. So a number of people who were here on the stage before me, they talked about the organizational policies that we need to bring about, be it flexible schedules, be it supportive policies, be it mentorship programs, ally programs, and more, right? All of them extremely important, right? And I have been a big beneficiary of many of those programs myself. In fact, there was a situation in my career where my current organization allowed me to work part-time for almost 2 years, and then I switched back full-time without any real impact. So all of them really, really important. But today, I'm not going to focus on any of those. I want to talk, the remainder of the session, I want to talk about what each one of us can really do as individuals to take control of our careers. But before I begin, I will also say I don't have all the answers. I did not even have it for myself. I did not have the benefit of being in a room like this 15 years ago or even 10 years ago. I did not have the benefit of all the online networks that are available today, right? A lot of what I'm speaking about is based on hindsight and learned experiences of people that I see around me. So I want you to sort of take the insights that I share in that context. So let's sort of shift the focus to us in the room, right? So I assume we're all here because we already have a career in technology, irrespective of the stage of the career that we are all in today, right? Let's take a moment to really acknowledge the fact that we have come this far, and we are more privileged than many of the other people who could not really come into a room like this or corporate offices like us. So I want to take this opportunity to first applaud and give a big round of applause to all of you. Please join me in doing that. And now let's talk a little bit about, these are really the 5 messages I want to leave with you today. And again, I'll support it with a lot of examples from my own career to help you understand why I think these are critical to help you succeed as women professionals. Number 1, be open and flexible. Number 2, focus on soft skills. I talk about soft skills a lot when I mentor people, whether men or women that I mentor or sort of appraise or manage. Number 3, my most favorite, make sure you're heard. A lot of people spoke about it. I'll give you a few examples from my experience to sort of reinstate the same point. Number 4, build your personal brand. And lastly, I'll say don't try to be a superwoman. I have tried and I have failed there, so I'll talk about that. I'm sometimes very amused when I hear from a lot of young career professionals talking about how they want to become data scientists. They think coding models is really cool, right? And they think that's what data science is all about. But one thing I want to draw, having been in this profession for the last 20 years, one thing I can very clearly tell you is the value does not lie in creating those models. The value actually lies in understanding the business problem, making sure that you're connecting that problem with the data, then developing that model, whether irrespective of what that model could be, and today there are so many AutoML tools that are available to even build those models for you, preparing that data, ensuring you deliver those insights, and finally and most importantly, taking those to the end users and getting them adopted and trusted, right? So this requires you to build really an end-to-end expertise if you want to set yourself up for long-term career success. Just doing parts and pieces of the puzzle is really not going to take you very long. In my career, one thing I've consciously done is experiment with newer roles every 2 to 3 years. I know it puts me sometime in a bit of a disadvantage and sometimes makes me think I'm starting from scratch, which means I need to invest more effort. But that feeling of unsettledness was important for me to remain challenged and remain motivated all through. Moving on, focus on your soft skills. There are a number of soft skills that we all can build, right? And a number that a lot of people today spoke about. I want to talk about 2 things, especially in the context of data and AI: storytelling and problem solving. People say that messages wrapped around stories are 20 times more memorable than if they are not. So how many of you remember the stories from today? Remember any story from today? That's great. So that's huge success for the people, for the speakers, really, because they really made their point through the stories that they told you, right? This is not only true for events like this or speaking sessions like this. It is also especially true for you if you want to go and convince anyone, right? It could be about convincing your manager whether you're the right person for the job, even if it's about convincing your clients that you are the right company to be awarded that project, or even for your team, even for you to get credibility with that team, you need to build those presentation skills. And in the context of building those presentation skills, make sure you develop your storytelling skills. And especially in data and AI, what is also important is if you're presenting insights to anyone and if you want people to take actions, make sure you tell a story through your data. So your insights are more memorable and your insights are more trusted and acted upon. Secondly, let's talk a little bit about problem solving, right? So with data, in data analytics, it is important to understand, it is important to ask the right questions. If you want your data to give you the right answers, unless you ask the right questions in the context of the business, in the context of the problem, you are never going to get those right answers. Also remember, the why matters more than the what. There are many frameworks available today. The simplest one that I use in my day-to-day life to just keep reminding myself that the why is important is the 5 why framework. Just keep asking the why 5 times, right? If someone tells you to do something, ask why. They give you an answer, ask another why to get to the next level of that problem. Ask more often than not, what you will realize is in the first 2-3 whys, you have all the answers, but sometimes you may need all the 5 whys, and it is said that you will never need, if you're asking the right questions, you will never need more than 5 whys to get to the root of any problem at all. Like I said, my favorite, make sure you're heard and claim your seat at the table. I'll tell you about 2 examples from my experience here. The first one was, I was bidding for a very large data analytics project, again at an Indian client. And we had done the proposal, we had booked a slot for the proposal defense and so on. And because of the client intimacy I had and knowledge of the solution, I was the de facto choice to go and present that solution to a room full of senior management folks from the client side. The googly that I had that day was, as I entered that room, I saw that my DNA head, who used to be based out of Paris, was in India at that point, and he decided to attend that meeting. I was 10 years younger in my career, so I wasn't as confident as even I am today, right? So seeing him in the room created a bit of anxiety in me, as I was not expecting to really be presenting in front of someone like him. So sensing the anxiety, he called me aside and said, "I'm told you're the primary presenter. All the very best to you. My presence should not bother you one bit. I am only here to really show that we care, to really show leadership commitment and not really to talk or anything about the solution at all." That sort of eased me a little bit. We made the presentation, we came out with flying colors, we won the project, all that was great. But my learning from that was, this was the kind of people you want to work with, right? There's a second situation, a very, very contrasting one. This time, a more senior person, right? This was our group CEO who had come from Paris again. And I, along with a group of others, were invited to make presentations on the solutions we were leading. 2 hours before the presentation, the person who was coordinating these meetings called me aside and asked me if I had the experience to present to someone as senior as him and whether I was prepared enough. While I was indeed a little bit nervous, I did gather the courage to tell him that I am the best person to do this presentation and I am totally confident. Without choice, he let me present. That presentation went well. Whatever happened, that doesn't matter. But later on, what I realized is he only asked this question to me, who was the only women presenter, and not to some of the other male colleagues who were equally or sometimes even less experienced, or some of them even less experienced than me. So, 2 contrasting situations. The first one ideal, but the second one is what I think is more common today, is what I have faced more commonly today. Women are constantly questioned about their credibility, capability, and we have to keep reminding people. We have to keep telling everyone, we have to be heard all the time that we are the right people. So it is important, even when you are sort of taking on responsibilities within a team, right? Let's say there are like 10 things to do within a team. There are stereotypes that come into the picture in the minds of people that assign responsibilities. So they assign some of the more documentation. It is very common to assign documentation type responsibilities to women members of the team and assign more coding type responsibilities to men members of the team. This is not acceptable, right? Speak up. You need to, if you think you are the right person to do that coding job, or if you honestly think that documentation is really what you want to do, whatever it is, right? Speak up for yourself and make sure that you're sort of heard. Also, a lot of people talked about how women don't negotiate for the salary rises and promotions as much as men do. I've sort of fallen into this trap myself. There have been situations where I've gone and told my managers that, no, I don't think I deserve this promotion. I've foregone promotion because I felt I was not ready. But on the hindsight, what I also realized is after a few years, when I saw some of my male colleagues who got that promotion that I did not get, were not even performing as well as I did, I realized my mistake, right? And luckily for me, it wasn't too late, but for some women, they realize it way too late. So just want to leave that thought with you, that it's very important for us to speak for ourselves. Moving forward, build your personal brand. When I say build your personal brand, I talk about how you broadcast yourself to the wider audience that you see around you, right? This is something that I did not have a lot of, I did not start very early on in my career. In fact, I did not know that it was important to build my personal brand until I got into my current role, which is marketing, right? In my role, I work with a lot of thought leaders across the industry. I work with people who are influencers. So this experience was sort of an eye-opener for me, right? So what it means for each one of you to build a personal brand is to be consistently talking about your areas of expertise. So people start to know you and associate you with that. LinkedIn is a very, very easy place to start. First step is to go update your profile. I think our AIM colleagues talked about going and promoting I am rising in LinkedIn. Today could be a start, right? You have started rising today. So start being also known for your experiences. I know all of us in this room, especially the more younger people, you're more social savvy than people like me. So use your social skills to build your to advance your professional career as well. Lastly, don't try to be a superwoman, right? Let's face it, we women professionals have multiple responsibilities. We have responsibilities at home, we have responsibilities at work, we have responsibilities towards everything else that should ideally not be our responsibility either. So we care about everything in the world, right? It's okay to do that, but it is important to seek help and support. Start with your family. Make your life partner, a real partner in your career. Help them understand how important a career is to you. Share with them the little successes and inspire them to take pride in your career growth. Today, if I'm speaking here, my husband out there is more proud than anyone else today. I think that's the kind of pride that we need to instill in them and tell them and make them understand what this experience means to us. And today, the good news is the support systems have really improved so much, right? Much more than our minds can adjust. We just need to, we can't really complain about support systems not being available today, but we only have ourselves to blame because we really don't take enough advantage of them. It's sometimes okay to let go of a few things. It's okay to let go of cooking all meals of your family. It's okay to let go of being extremely involved in your kids' education. It's okay to make time for those occasional work travels, right? Even today, as I was speaking to my colleagues, a lot of them talked about how difficult it was for them to sort of let go of their, leave their kids behind for a couple of days to be here. And I keep hearing this every time. I think we as women need to stop feeling bad about some of those things. Lastly, I want to tell you that look for mentors and idols that you can relate to. There are so many people, there are so many women leaders out there within India, outside India. While they can provide one level of inspiration, what's really important is you find someone that you can relate to. For me, my mother is my first role model and inspiration. She's a mother of 3, and she was a working professional right from my childhood. She had a very responsible job in treasury of approving payables. It was a very risky, very time consuming, and at the same time a very high profile job that she had, and she beautifully juggled both work and home. Seeing her was a huge source of inspiration for me, and to me, women working was sort of very, very natural to me. So that's the kind of impact that if you find role models and mentors within your circle, that's the impact it can have on you. So take conscious efforts to find those role models and see how you can draw inspiration from them. So that's all I had to share with you. Hopefully they were useful tips for you, and happy to take any questions.